Hey yo everyone! The Nintendo Switch has been out for over 7 years now and is in desperate need of an upgrade. The little hybrid is one of the best selling gaming consoles of all time and could very well become the top seller by the end of its lifespan. So of course, with that amount of popularity and the time since its initial release, the rumors of a successor have been heating up as of late. So today I want to go over everything that we know about the Switch 2 or whatever it's going to be called, and what else we could possibly expect when it finally releases. I'm sure as soon as I post this video, Nintendo will announce their Direct and this will lose all of its relevance, but if you enjoyed the video anyway, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Alright, let's get it. Alrighty, before we begin, just know that a lot of the information I'll be going over are rumors and leaks and speculation, so some of this might be accurate, some of it may be completely off base. I think that the increase in leaks is probably an indicator that Nintendo will announce something soon though. It's getting harder and harder for them to keep it a secret, which I think means that they're in full production mode and ramping up for the launch. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's start with the hardware. Last week, there was a leak of some Switch 2 renders and it appears to be mostly a successor of the original Switch, which is good. That's exactly what I wanted. I don't need some sort of weird gimmick or for Nintendo to completely reinvent the wheel here. The Switch is pretty close to perfect in my opinion, so a successor with beefier hardware and a few quality of life changes is all I could really ask for. Supposedly, some developers have had a few hands-on tests with the console, but it would have been an earlier model and that could be outdated at this point. From the leaks we've seen recently though, it looks like the Switch 2 will retain its hybrid functionality with a slightly larger screen at 8 inches compared to the Switch's original 6.2 inches. Unfortunately, the screen is rumored to only be LCD instead of OLED, which is kind of a gut punch. That OLED model has really spoiled me, not gonna lie. The cheaper LCD should help to cut production costs, which is important because Nintendo doesn't like to sell their consoles at a loss, unlike Sony or Microsoft, who are willing to eat that cost to keep their powerful hardware at a relatively affordable price. The new screen does have a sleeker look though, and the bezels are much smaller this time around, with an upgraded kickstand that looks like the OLED version. The Joy-Cons have also received a bit of a makeover with updated triggers and what appears to be a few additional buttons. We don't really know what these buttons will be for, so feel free to speculate in the comments. The new Joy-Cons will also use an updated magnetic attachment system instead of the plastic rails from the original. Thankfully, it looks like the Switch 2 will still be supporting physical games and appears to have a cartridge slot for backwards compatibility. Maybe they'll do that weird thing where the new cartridges are shaped differently than the old ones, but as of right now, it looks like we'll at least be having some sort of cartridge system for the games. The important part is that the system looks like it will support backwards compatibility, which does support the theory that Nintendo is looking to modernize their platform by having games attached to accounts instead of consoles. As for the Joy-Cons and other accessories, I have no idea what will or will not still work with the Switch 2. And speaking of those accessories, I couldn't find much on the next-gen dock. There were rumors that the new dock would have some sort of processor in it so that when you play on your TV, the games would be upscaled and perform a bit better, but I haven't found anything that backs up that theory. The Switch 2 also has two different USB-C ports this time, one at the bottom again and another at the top. This could just be for convenience when it comes to charging the Switch, or it could be a part of some new accessories coming down the line. You never know with Nintendo. Now let's move along to the actual specs of the machine. This part is probably the most debated. The most recent leaks indicate that the Switch 2 will ship with 12 GB of RAM and support DLSS, NVIDIA's AI upscaling tech, which would be pretty perfect for docking and trying to get up to 4K without blowing out the budget on the internals. Thanks to the FTC versus Microsoft case a while back, internal documents were revealed by Activision when they met with Nintendo in 2022 to discuss their next console. Apparently, the performance is on par with the Gen 8 consoles, which would be the PS4 and Xbox One, but they followed up by saying that they had not seen the official specs for the machine. However, another report from Eurogamer says that the Switch 2 was shown running the Matrix Awakens Unreal Engine 5 tech demo behind closed doors at Gamescom, which would put it almost up to par with the Series X and PS5. This doesn't mean the console will actually be that powerful, of course, just that Nintendo might have found a clever way to output highly intensive graphics with less powerful hardware, which would support the NVIDIA DLSS rumor. So it looks like right now the leading rumor is that the Switch 2 will jump up from 4 GB of RAM from the original all the way up to 12 GB. The internal storage is also believed to move up from a tiny 32 GB to a much more respectable 256 GB. So you might be able to download half of a Call of Duty game. And speaking of games, let's look at some potential launch titles for the Switch 2. The original Switch came out swinging with Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, and of course, Skyrim, which was used pretty heavily in the marketing to grab the attention of non-Nintendo fans. So what should we expect for the Switch 2? The most obvious first-party games are probably Metroid Prime 4, a new 3D Mario game, finally, and maybe even a new Mario Kart. I mean, a new Nintendo console and a new Mario Kart game at launch sounds like something that should be hand in hand. I also wouldn't be surprised if they finally decided to release the remake of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker to coincide with the Switch 2 launch. I also wouldn't rule out the possibility of Pokemon Legends Z-A or a new Animal Crossing game released during the launch window either, but I don't think Nintendo wants to drop too many big first-party games all at once. As for third-party, I think Nintendo would want to come out and make a statement, similar to what they did with Skyrim. Since the new console will most likely be backwards compatible, we can rule out most of the games that have already come out on Switch, such as The Witcher 3, which was also used pretty heavily to market the console. That game and Skyrim are pretty big games in terms of scope, and they're also rated M, so I'm not going to exclude the possibility of M-rated launch titles for the Switch 2. With all of that being said, I would love to see Red Dead Redemption 2 as a launch title. It's a great game, it's a massive open world, it's a highly beloved franchise. I think it would be a perfect launch title to really showcase the power of the new Switch. Some other games that I think could potentially launch with the Switch 2 are Baldur's Gate 3, the Resident Evil 4 remake, Cyberpunk 2077, Elden Ring, or maybe even a Fallout game like Fallout 4. All of these games, besides Baldur's Gate 3, have developers who have worked closely with Nintendo in the past, so they might want to partner up again and join the marketing for the Switch 2. Also, I know that Xbox is really pushing cross-platform releases, so if the Switch 2 could handle it, I would not be surprised at all if they try and squeeze Call of Duty into it. Or at the very least, I bet we'll see Hi-Fi Rush. I also think that GTA 5 will finally make its way onto the Switch 2. I'm just not sure that it would be a launch title. Okay, so now let's talk about the potential announcement and release. Ever since 2017, Nintendo has held a Direct every September. We are rapidly approaching the end of the month though, and it's beginning to look like they might actually skip a September Direct this year. But that makes sense if they're waiting to announce the Switch 2 in an October Direct, which is what they did for the original Switch. If that happens, then we can probably expect the Switch 2 to launch in March, just like the first one did. I'd say if we don't get an official reveal by the end of October though, then we probably won't see it until the second half of 2025, which would be a huge bummer. As for the cost, it looks like Nintendo is eyeing a $400 price tag, which makes sense. Consoles are certainly getting more expensive. If this is the case though, Nintendo better be ready to back it up, because at $400, you're almost at Series X and PS5 prices. You'd actually be matching up with the 256GB LCD Steam Deck. Again, I'd be willing to drop $400 for a Switch 2, but Nintendo needs to make sure it's up to par with the competition. I really hope they're not going to just rest on their laurels like they did with the Wii to Wii U transition. We do not need a repeat of that.
Yeah, look like I've been upgraded.
As for different variations, such as the Switch Lite or the higher-end OLED, I don't think we'll see that right off the bat. I think Nintendo will just want to make it clean and easy for parents to figure out which console to buy. Although I would really love if they had some color variations or cool special editions right away. I have no doubt in my mind that they'll release different models in the following years, like another cheaper version that's handheld only or a higher end Pro model like the OLED, just not right away. That's about all we know for now. I'm really looking forward to Nintendo finally announcing this thing. I honestly think the Switch might be my favorite console of all time. But I want to know what you guys think. When do you think we'll get an official Switch 2 reveal? What do you think it will be called? How much are you hoping it will cost? And what games do you want to see right away at launch? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It means a lot. I appreciate you guys as always, and I will catch you in the next one.